Da-bin is roasting seaweed over the fire. The enticing aroma wafts out and it instantly lures Min-jun in. She rolls up the seaweed and feeds it to Min-jun. They even stick the seaweed on their mouths and play like they've got mustaches. The whole house is filled with their laughter. But out of nowhere, Ji-suk marches in. She helps Da-bin wipe her hair, and as she does, a few bubbles splash onto her own hair. Ji-suk bottles up her anger and reaches out to wipe off the bubbles, but this is just the calm before the storm. During the meal, Min-jun accidentally drops the cake on the table. He picks it up and stuffs it into his mouth. Ji-suk sees this and says in a low, menacing voice, "Be careful when picking up food. Don't drop it again." Min-jun readily agrees, but the next second, a quail egg plops onto the table. Ji-suk completely loses it. "Hasn't your mother taught you how to use chopsticks? And you, Da-bin, as the elder sister, this is on you." Da-bin and Min-jun freeze, not daring to say a word. They keep their heads down and continue eating, oblivious to the nightmare that's about to unfold. This stepmother is pure evil. She stands up, ties her hair tightly with a hair tie, and storms into the bedroom. The second they're inside, she starts screaming at her. In that moment, Da-bin and Min-jun finally realize they've got a monster on their hands. Ji-suk lays down the law. "From now on, you call me good mom." Another meal, Min-jun accidentally drops a bean and his face goes deathly pale. Da-bin quickly stands up and pleads with Ji-suk, "Good mom, I will definitely teach Min-jun well. I promise there won't be any more mess-ups." But Ji-suk doesn't respond. She slams the phone down, whips off the hair tie, ties up her hair again, and unleashes a beating. "You little I told you to keep him in line." The brother and sister somehow managed to survive the night. The next day, Da-bin races to the police station for help, but the police just scoff. "A few slaps and you're here crying wolf?" Kids these days. And just like that, they pass the buck to the welfare agency. When the welfare agency comes for a home visit, Ji-suk pulls off the phony act of a loving mom. She runs over and hugs Da-bin, fake cooing, "Honey, does it hurt?" "It's mom's fault. I'm sorry." She then adds, all saccharine sweet, "It's just a small thing. Why bother the police?" The welfare workers buy it hook, line, and sinker. They have no clue they're being conned. But as soon as the door shuts behind them, Ji-suk's mask slips. She forces Da-bin to kneel on the ground and hold her hands up. 30 minutes pass, and Da-bin, exhausted, can't take it anymore. The second she lowers her hands, Ji-suk's rage explodes. Da-bin's screams fill the house, and Min-jun, terrified, cowers in the corner, covering his ears. With no other options left, Da-bin turns to her head teacher. "I need to tell you something," she says, desperation in her voice. The head teacher sees the red marks on Da-bin's neck and knows exactly what's going on, but she wants no part of it. She makes up a quick excuse and hightails it out of there. Da-bin and Min-jun are at their lowest point until Jong-yob, the social worker, enters the picture. Jong-yob is kind. He starts chatting with Da-bin. Jong-yob goes to pat Da-bin on the shoulder, and she flinches violently. It's an instinctive reaction burned into her soul from all those. Jong-yob takes the brother and sister out for hamburgers. Da-bin takes a big bite and a few crumbs fall. Min-jun panics and shouts in terror, "Sister, it's spilling! It's spilling!" Jong-yob tries to calm him down. "It's okay, it's just some crumbs," he says. But the damage Ji-suk has done is clear. Jong-yob tries to report the abuse, but his boss shuts him down. "Stay out of it, think about your career." But Jong-yob, who remembers his own tough childhood, refuses to turn a blind eye. He takes the kids on outings to the zoo to draw, and for a brief moment, Da-bin and Min-jun feel safe. But all too soon, Jong-yob gets the news that he has to go to Seoul for work. When he drops the kids off at home, they cling to him, not wanting him to leave. Jong-yob gives Min-jun 50,000 won. "Get yourself something good to eat," he says, and hands over a gorilla plushie, which brings a rare smile to Min-jun's face. As Jong-yob is about to leave, Da-bin bangs on the window, asking for his number. He scribbles it on a card and hands it over. However, one afternoon, the moment Da-bin and Min-jun walk through the door, Ji-suk is waiting, seething. She shoves the card in their faces. "What's this?" When she sees it's from the welfare agency, she goes ballistic. "You little snitches! You ratted me out!" She rips up the card, whips her hair back, and the next thing you know, Da-bin echo through the neighborhood. Da-bin lies in the bathroom, her eyes empty, all hope drained away. Out of nowhere, Da-bin crashes to the floor during class. Blood oozes from her ear. Classmates scream, teachers yell, and everyone rushes to her side. Luckily, Jong Yob hasn't left for Seoul yet. When the news reaches him, he dashes straight to the hospital. He gently tucks the blanket around Da-bin, but the moment she reaches out her tiny hand for his, he recoils. With eyes filled with desperation, she pleads, "Uncle Jong, please, take me and Min-jun away. We'll do anything, we promise." But Jong Yob's reply shatters her hope. "I'm moving to Seoul for work." Just like that, the light in Da-bin's eyes dies and she turns away, silent and defeated. After leaving the hospital, Jong Yob races from one social worker to another, but no one wants to get involved. Frustrated, he storms to Ji-suk's house. "Stop hurting those kids," he shouts. Ji-suk smirks. Da-bin tripped and fell, end of story, and slams the door in his face. With no other option, he heads straight to Da-bin's father. What a pathetic excuse for a father. When Jong Yob tries to intervene, the man explodes in a fit of rage. "My kids are my business. What's your game with Da-bin, huh?" Jong Yob's heart sinks. He's at a dead end, and for a moment, he thinks about walking away. Then, one fateful night, Min-jun holds tight to the 50,000 won Jong Yob gave them, excited to buy treats with Da-bin. But Ji-suk spots the money and her eyes turn wild. "Thieves! Stealing from your own mother?" she screeches, lunging forward. Min-jun clutches the cash, yelling, "Uncle Jong gave it to us for food!" Ji-suk scoffs, "Every penny in this house is mine." She shoves Min-jun hard, sending him crashing to the floor, then drags Da-bin out of bed. Min-jun huddles in the corner, trembling as Da-bin takes a vicious slap. "Whose fault is this?" Ji-suk demands. Da-bin's voice shakes. It's me." Ji-suk orders Da-bin to hit Min-jun. Da-bin looks at her little brother, her heart breaking. She gives him the softest tap, but Ji-suk isn't buying it. "Do it right, or you'll regret it." With tears streaming down her face, Da-bin closes her eyes and swings. Min-jun wails, and the siblings cling together, sobbing. That only makes Ji-suk angrier. She rips Da-bin away and turns on Min-jun. "You'll learn your lesson the hard way," she screams. Downstairs, neighbors hear the commotion, but they just ignore it. A passing neighbor merely sighs and mutters, "They're at it again?" 3 hours later, Da-bin stumbles outside, the money now in tatters, fluttering away in the wind. She stares over the railing and everything goes black. When Jong Yob gets the call, he races to the hospital, praying it's all a nightmare. But it's too late. Min-jun is gone. The police claim Da-bin killed Min-jun for the money, but Jong Yob knows better. That's a lie. Da-bin loved her brother more than anything. Ji-suk is the one behind this, he rages. Overwhelmed by regret, he slams his fists against the steering wheel again and again. How could a measly 50,000 won lead to such a tragic nightmare? It turns out Ji-suk forced Da-bin to take the blame, threatening, "Confess or I'll make you suffer even more." The media goes wild, painting Da-bin as a monster, while Ji-suk plays the innocent victim in public. Da-bin is trapped, drowning in guilt and fear. The next day, Ji-suk throws away all of Min-jun's things, including his beloved gorilla plushie. But Jong Yob refuses to give up. He calls in every favor he has, quits his job in Seoul, begs his old law firm for help, and even takes to the streets, handing out flyers to expose the truth. The dam finally breaks on Ji-suk's dark secrets. Turns out, this good mom is a law school grad with a rap sheet longer than your arm, multiple fraud convictions, jail time, the works. Now she's weaponizing the legal system, knowing minors get lighter sentences, trying to pin Min-jun's death on Da-bin. But Jong Yob doesn't back down. He tracks down a forensic expert who delivers a bombshell. Min-jun's death was caused by severe intestinal trauma, physically impossible for a 10-year-old to inflict. Armed with this smoking gun, Jong Yob files charges, and the court finally takes the case. He leaps into the air, fist pumping, adrenaline skyrocketing. But across town, when Ji-suk gets served the summons, her face twists into a mask of rage. She storms into Da-bin's room and unleashes a brutal beating. Da-bin clings to her legs, sobbing, "I'm sorry, please stop." Ji-suk shoves her away, snarling, "You're out to destroy me, aren't you? Why won't you just die?" With that, then spins around to grab a rolling pin. Da-bin cowers in the corner of the closet, trembling as Ji-suk raises the rolling pin. Just as the weapon descends, the phone rings shrilly, cutting through the tension, and Da-bin narrowly escapes with her life. Days pass, and every morning someone knocks on the door, and when Da-bin opens it, a bag of gifts hangs from the handle. She knows deep down that Jong Yob is behind it. One day, buried among the goodies, she finds an MP3 player. When she presses play, Jong Yob's voice fills the air, inviting her to meet him under the bridge. But as Da-bin reaches for the doorknob, the door bursts open. Ji-suk's eyes land on the MP3 and realization dawns. You're trying to run away? The violence erupts again, and outside, little Fatty hears the commotion. Panicked, he dials Jong Yob's number. Jong Yob's heart leaps into his throat when he answers. He sprints through the streets. Meanwhile, in the house, Ji-suk hoists a wooden stool above her head, aiming for Da-bin's skull. In that terrifying instant, Jong Yob's voice thunders from the doorway. Ji-suk freezes, then reluctantly drops the stool. Jong Yob, fueled by rage, grabs a hammer and smashes the doorknob clean off. The door swings open, revealing Da-bin crumpled on the floor, barely conscious. He rushes to her side. Ji-suk yanks Jong Yob up. "These are my kids. Stay out of it." Jong Yob sees red. "Do you even have a shred of humanity?" Ji-suk's then speechless and frozen in place. Jong Yob kneels down gently and scoops Da-bin onto his back. As he heads for the door, Ji-suk blocks his path. "You're breaking the law. This is kidnapping." But Jong Yob just shoulders past her, ignoring her threats. Just as Jong Yob settles Da-bin to rest, angry shouts erupt from downstairs. He sprints down to find Da-bin's father glaring at him. "This is family business. Back off or I'll sue you for trafficking." Jong Yob stands his ground, eyes steely. "I'm Da-bin's legal representative. She's not going anywhere with you tonight." Caught off guard, the father scowls and slinks away. In the courtroom, Ji-suk puts on her false show again. She pretends to be remorseful and says, "As a mother, I failed in my duties. I'm sorry to everyone." She even forces out a few crocodile tears. Everyone in the courtroom is repulsed by her act. Even Da-bin's father can't help shooting Ji-suk a look of disgust. When the lawyer brings up Min-jun's death, Ji-suk says, "I was swamped with work and had no clue about how the siblings interacted." When the autopsy photos are brought into the discussion, she feigns distress and says, "I just couldn't bring myself to look. I didn't have the guts." Jong Yob is beside himself with anger and frustration. But Ji-suk's answers are so airtight that without key evidence, there's no way to convict her. After the first trial wraps up, Jong Yob is so worn out that he flops down on the sofa. Just then, his nephew begs him for the gorilla doll, saying there's a recorded video in it. It turns out that this doll has a recording feature, and you can start recording by tapping its nose. Jong Yob's spirits lift instantly, recalling that Da-bin had mentioned the doll was tossed away. Jong Yob rushes to the garbage dump. He searches from dawn till dusk, turning one huge pile of garbage into two. But the gorilla doll is nowhere to be found. The second trial begins. Da-bin keeps her head down. The judge asks her, "Did you hit your brother?" At the thought of her dead brother, Da-bin bursts into tears. Everyone in the courtroom feels sorry for her, and the judge has no choice but to adjourn the court. If Da-bin still doesn't identify Ji-suk after the adjournment, all the previous efforts will be in vain. In the lounge, everyone takes turns persuading Da-bin to speak up, but no one succeeds. Just when they are at a loss, little Fatty comes in holding the gorilla doll. It turns out he picked it up. When the trial resumes, as soon as Da-bin sees the gorilla doll, she thinks of her brother. Jong Yob gently says to her, "Da-bin, Uncle and the gorilla will protect you." Da-bin finally musters up the courage and tells the judge, "It was good mom who hit my brother. I confessed because I was forced to." Tears in his eyes, Jong Yob says, "She confessed just to stay alive." The truth finally comes out, and there is only one last step left, having Da-bin identify the murderer. The judge asks Da-bin, "Who exactly killed your brother?" Remembering those terrifying scenes, Da-bin falls silent again. This time, Jong Yob doesn't push her. He just pats her on the shoulder and says, "It's okay if you don't want to say." After a moment of silence, Da-bin finally speaks up. "It was Mom who did it." At this moment, the lawyer on Ji-suk's side jumps up and says, "This is a leading question. It can't be used as evidence." But he doesn't expect that Jong Yob has the video recorded by the doll. Worried that Da-bin will be sad if she sees the video, Jong Yob asks her to go out first. Then he plays the video. In the video, Min-jun is playing with the doll when suddenly Ji-suk rushes over and starts hitting him. The heart-rending cries of Min-jun ring out. Everyone in the courtroom can't bear to watch and turns their heads away. In the last part of the video, because of the intestinal rupture, Min-jun's stomach swells up like a balloon. He says to Da-bin, "I think I ate too much, that's why my stomach is so big. I saw Mom in my dream yesterday." Da-bin says, "Really? I envy you." Min-jun continues, "I'm going to see Mom. I miss her so much. You have to take care of yourself. I'm leaving." After saying that, Minjun passes away amidst Da-bin's sobs. This stepmother killed the child but still tries to make excuses. What kind of evidence is this? Don't make a fuss about it. I admit I hit the child, but I was just educating him. Doesn't every family discipline their kids? As a mom, can't I hit him a few times? Jong-yeob can't stand it anymore. Do you think you deserve to be a mom? Ji-suk still wants to retort. Suddenly, Da-bin's father shouts, "Shut the hell up!" Ji-suk still doesn't give up. "I cook for the kids and wash their hair. I've fulfilled my duty as a mom. What else do you want from me?" Jong-yeob slams the table in anger. "Enough! Don't disgrace the word mom. You don't deserve it." Ji-suk still wants to curse back. "Who do you think you are? Why are you meddling in my business?" Finally, the bailiffs rush up and drag Ji-suk away. She is sentenced to 16 years in prison for child abuse resulting in death. Da-bin's father, who condoned the abuse, is sentenced to 5 years in prison. After everything is over, Jong-yeob accompanies Da-bin to the bridge. They release a paper airplane together. This paper airplane carries all the painful past, and from now on, Da-bin will surely live a happier life. This movie is called My First Client. It's a movie adapted from a real event. With the unique, delicate style of Korean movies, it makes people burst into tears. If you like this video, remember to like and subscribe. See you next time.